You are watching the Whovians podcast, you sensible people. Isn't it fun?
Hello, this is Matthew Waterhouse. You're watching the Whovians podcast.
The Doctor and his companions, Dodo and Steve, travel back in time to 1881, shortly before the famous gunfight at the OK Corral. The Doctor is mistaken for Doc Holliday. Will the Doctor interfere with history? And what does the international group of fans, the Whovians, think about it? Stay tuned to the Gunfighters.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another super exciting episode of the Whovians. And today we're going to be discussing a super cool classic, the first Doctor in the Gunfighters. Today I got some awesome friends with me today. I have Lee Wilson with us here today. How you doing, Captain America?
All right there, Mike.
All right, man. We got our published author buddy, Jimmy Porto, with us. Also, super editor he is. Go ahead, man.
Hello, everyone.
We got all bundled up Carol Ann Swan, looking like an Indian. How you doing?
How you doing?
Hey. Great guy from Texas. Tim Wells is here with us today. How you doing, man?
How you doing, everybody?
Hey. The lovely Neo is here with us today. Looking good.
Hello.
Looking good you are.
Fourth Doctor's here and ready.
Gotta love it. And look at this guy. Look how beautiful this guy is. We got the first Doctor with us here today. Beef Dad. Look at this.
Howdy, Mr. Shannon.
Hello, sir. Thank you for being here with us, man. Looking good. Looking good. All right, so we are going to discuss the Gunfighters, a classic episode starring William Hartnell. And we are going to start with Lee Wilson today. Take it away, Lee. What did you think of this episode, man?
Well, the Gunfighters, Mike, this gets knocked a lot. I don't see the reasoning why. It's purely historical. Maybe the facts are wrong every now and again, but for me, I enjoy this one. The theme song, The Last Chance Saloon, it is annoying to begin with, but after episode one, for me, it sort of faded into the background. It's sort of like background music to me, but I enjoyed it. This is humour. It's put into Doctor Who, and it's absolutely brilliant seeing Hartnell having a bit of fun, because he's always known as a serious Doctor, and a little bit of fun like he did in the Romans. I enjoyed that. A bit of comedy, and he's absolutely perfect with a bit of humour, was Hartnell. I mean, where he kept calling Mr. Warp and swinging the guns. Can you do that? You know, it's just so funny. I love it. And some of the actors in it, Lawrence Payne, he would return to Doctor Who. You know, he played Regusta, would return to Doctor Who in The Leisure Half and The Two Doctors. The guy who played Doc Holliday, his son later wrote the 1996 TV movie. Matthew Jacobs wrote that. You know, and the Charlie the Barman would return in City of Death as the Professor. But it's for me, it's a brilliant piece of Who history, this one. It gets knocked, but for me, Hartnell at his best. I love him. It's, I would say, 7.5 out of 10. 7.5 out of 10 for that.
Not bad, man. 7.5 out of 10 from Lee Wilson. Thank you, Lee. All right, let's mosey over to the great state of Texas with Texas Tim Wells. What do you think of this story, man?
Well, as Lee said, over the years, it's gotten a lot of criticism. I think there's been like a received wisdom of fans from the past that have always said this was like the worst ever Doctor Who. And the truth is, it's not nearly as bad as they make out. It was very experimental for the time, because I don't think the BBC had ever done any kind of Western at all, especially not in a filming studio. It's like Lee said, it's a good comedy episode. You can tell William Hartnell's really having a good time with it, in spite of his toothache. And yeah, the song gets a bit annoying sometimes, but I think that's not you're not really supposed to watch this all at once. It's more to be seen once a week. And it was, again, something experimental, something different. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a comedy, and I would probably give it likely a 7.5 out of 10.
Okay, thank you, man. 7.5 out of 10 so far, guys. Thanks, Texas Tim. All right, we're going to go to my sis, Carol Ann Swan, all bundled up. What did you think of this story?
The best way I'm going to put it is I'm thinking of this as a parody, a Western parody. I mean, it's right up there with Blazing Saddles. The first time I got my mom to actually sit down and watch a Doctor Who episode from start to finish, we laughed our butts off. I mean, it was hilarious. We ended up watching it in one shot this morning, I mean, it got to the point where every time that song came on, we laughed throughout the whole song. I mean, it was just so hilarious. I mean, to be serious, I didn't know that, because I'm not a classic Doctor Who fan, so yet. But I didn't know there were other companions after Susan and those other two people. So so I was like, who the hell are these people? And that guy, Steven, is a complete dumbass. I mean, we were just laughing hysterically. I mean, this was like a perfect comedy. Also, there was some really good acting in there. The guy who played Wyatt Earp, he's been in loads of U.S. Westerns. And both my mom and my dad grew up on Westerns. So, I mean, my mom recognized him right off the bat. I think it was a fun episode. It's not it's people saying it's the worst. It's, they're taking it too seriously. This is a comedy. It's a parody off of Westerns, plain and simple. I also go with a 7.5.
All right. Thank you, sis. So far, we got some 7.5s in the wing here. Let's see what the great Beef Dad thinks of this story. Take it away, Beef Dad. You originally saw this one aired, I'm sure.
It was great fun. Great fun. It made use of William Hartnell's tendency to get names wrong. In fact, it made it almost central by him calling Mick Wyatt Mr. Worp. Because if you look back, he was always getting people's names wrong. That was partly his problem. Yeah, you've got Dodo and Steve. Dodo, not much you can say about her, so I won't bother. Steve, played by Peter Purvis, who went on to be a very well-known children's television presenter in England, one of the presenters of a massive sort of children's magazine program called Blue Peter. But he never ever got past his nickname that was given to him by the kids, which was Peter Pervert. The story, brilliant how they slotted the Doctor and his companions into Tombstone and the gunfight at the OK Corral. Really clever the way that was done. I cannot understand, and I never have been able to understand, why it is not more popular. I mean, you have quite a lot of English actors doing the most incredible job with American accents, as English actors always do, or not. Absolutely loved the scenes where he was being mistaken for Doc Holliday, realised what was going on, or didn't realise what was going on. And it was magic moments from Hartnell. Absolute magic moments from Hartnell. It was so nice to see one of the Gallifreyan High Council turning up as a gunslinger. Yeah, absolutely loved the episode. Can't understand why it's so low on people's ratings. But for me, it gets a 9 out of 10.
Wow, there you go. 9 out of 10 from Beef Dad. Again, dressed for the part. Thank you, sir. You are awesome.
You're welcome.
And another great cast member here that's dressed for the part. Neo. What did you think of this story?
I loved it. I wasn't paying much attention to it at first, though, I have to admit, until I heard. It was until he said, "Oh, I need to see Doc Holliday." And I was like, "Doc Holliday?" And I jumped up. And then I was like, oh, I'm Wyatt Earp. And I said, oh, crap, I got to pay attention to this now. I'm going to have to give this maybe, I'm with Beef Dad on this. I would have to give it a 9 out of 10. I really liked it.
Oh, cool. 9 out of 10, your first viewing of the episode, the story. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Neo. All right, we'll move on over to our editor, Mr. Jimmy Porto. What did you think of this story, man?
One of the reasons this story has a bad reputation is because when it first aired, the majority of the audience did not like it. And that's according to the audience research report. The final episode was hated more than the others that preceded it. Some people commented that the story was hackneyed, ridiculous, and dull. The script, even for a children's program, was absolute rubbish. It appears crude, even besides the worst that reaches us from America. Except for the fact that the Doctor and his companions are time travelers, there's no science fiction in the episode. The episode is a comedy. And I think it would have worked as a comedy if they didn't have that ballad throughout the whole thing. But as Texas Tim stated, it was not meant to be seen all at once. It was meant to be seen once a week. Sitting it all at once and that ballad going over and over and over again, it was really painful, especially since I watch it with headphones on. I felt sorry for Jackie Lane because originally she was supposed to sing, but it turned out she couldn't. So they had Peter Purves sing. As David pointed out, Peter Purves has said in an interview that the producer and the director did not like him or Hartnell and were giving him and Hartnell a hard time during this episode. That shows that Hartnell is a great actor because watching this, it looks like Hartnell's having a wonderful time in the role. You can't tell that there's any difficulty at all between him and the director or the production crew. It looks like he's having a ball. And that brings the episode up. When the actors are having a good time, it comes through and you can enjoy the performance. If it wasn't for that ongoing ballad, I would have enjoyed it more. Interesting trivia, the bartender was played by the guy that did the voice of Brains in the Thunderbirds. Johnny Ringo was originally was supposed to be Patrick Troughton, but Patrick Troughton had other commitments. So had they cast Patrick Troughton, they may have cast someone else as the second Doctor. That would have changed Doctor Who's history. Donald Sutherland was originally cast, but he also had other commitments. That would be interesting to see Donald Sutherland in this. As a comedy, it works, but there are some negative things. I forget her name, Kitty, I think, or something like that. She's awful in it. Guy playing Billy was weak. So I would give it a 5 out of 10.
All right. Solid 5 from Jimmy Porto. Thank you, sir. All right, guys. Yeah, got a bit of a difference of opinions here today. Man, one thing with like again, with like Tim said, this is one that's kind of rough to watch all together in a way. Now, I did watch it on my my living room television, the big screen. So every time it started, you know, you hear the woman singing. You know, my wife and kids go, "What the hell are you watching?" They didn't even you know, I'm watching Doctor Who, and they didn't believe me. They thought I was watching some kind of Western, which I'm not a fan of cowboys at all. I'm not into that at all. It's very rare occasion that I would enjoy a cowboy story. Django Unchained is a good one. Red Dead Redemption is a great video game. You know, so there's some of my, you know, cowboy. Back to the Future 3 is pretty decent, which I noticed almost that Steven, not exactly, but when Marty McFly had that original outfit on, it almost looks like the outfit Steven had on. If you look at it, it's very similar. If you remember when Doc bought Marty that goofy cowboy outfit in the 50s to go back in time, it almost looks like the shirt that Steven had on. Again, Dodo, not the best, you know, I mean, they didn't do much with her in this one. I don't have really anything negative to say. It did look like that William Hartnell did enjoy this episode. He looked like he was having a good time throughout it. So that's a plus. There are definitely some funny moments, like you guys said. But it is rough at this point when you're, you know, when we're watching them all in a row. You know, sometimes it can drag. This one for me did a bit, but I think it drugged for me because that song kept playing. Like, you know, I'm trying to watch it, you know, and then again, I got my surround sound going. Okay, so I'm sitting in the middle of the living room, and this song, you know, comes on, and you're like, all right, maybe they're done with it. But no, they're not. Now here it is again a couple minutes later. You're like, oh, wow. And they do that a couple times in like each episode.
When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
I guess at this point it would have worked better. They could have just like did this in a two-parter, just kind of just, you know, just wrapped it up like that to have a nice Western. But again, like you guys said, I mean, watching it weekly is completely different than the way we watch stuff today. So it does throw us a little off. I didn't hate the episode. I thought, hey, man, they took a chance. Like you guys said, it was one of the first, I guess, BBC-produced Westerns or whatever. But they took a chance. They went for it. The acting was pretty good. You do get hey, man, it looked like a Western to me, man. Looked like a boring Western to me. So I guess they pulled it off in that way. You know,
because they do have a lot of shots where they're like from a stairway looking down, like at the bar and stuff. That's pretty good, technically.
Peter Purvis said that the director thought Doctor Who was beneath him.
Maybe Beef Dad would be able to answer this because he was there watching it for the first time when it aired. I took it as it not being serious, where it wasn't supposed to be a serious episode. You know, I thought it was supposed to be like a parody. I mean, was it like supposed to be like an authentic Western, or was it supposed to be poking fun at American Westerns?
The first Western on British television. They had Westerns on radio, but this was the first one on British television. So they couldn't be making fun of other Westerns on television since this was the first one. But this episode received such negative backlash that Doctor Who never again did another episode set in a historic period until the King's Demons and the Fifth Doctor.
Except the Highlanders.
Yeah. They said, let's try a Western. I guess at that point, I mean, Westerns were pretty big over here in the States. Maybe like the guys, you know, up at the BBC said, hey, let's give it a shot and see what happens. You know what I mean?
The thing is, when I watched the whole thing, you know, I just saw like all the cliche elements of like classic U.S. Westerns were in this episode.
Right.
You know? And if it is true that the BBC never did a Western until this point on Doctor Who, I mean, I can understand where all this happened. I mean, it was all the best cliches. I mean, all the one-liners, like, you know, that line when, you know, Doc Holliday went up to Wyatt Earp and said, Johnny Rocket, not Johnny Rocket. That's
Ringo.
Yeah, Johnny Remo was here, and then what's his name goes, and he's not anymore. I mean these one-liners were like classic of what you see in the classic Westerns.
Yeah.
And you know, and I think that's what the BBC was trying to incorporate, was the best cliches in the current Westerns of the time. Because remember, this was 1966.
Right.
You know?
You got interrupted. We haven't had your rating yet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would definitely give this one, you know, I'm leaning on a 7, man. It's not the best episode. It's kind of rough if you don't already like Doctor Who. I wouldn't say, hey, you know, for a first timer, you know, hey, check this out. Unless, like, they're into the old Westerns, man, then maybe, like, maybe Carol Ann's mom enjoyed it a little more because she recognized some of the, you know, faces from some, you know, some of the older actors. But again, at this point, you know, for any new fans, unless you're really Doctor Who, you know, buff and you really just, yeah, then it's worth a watch. But I wouldn't, you know, recommend it for, you know, somebody that hasn't never seen Doctor Who before. It's a bit long for what it is. like Tim said, I mean, if done weekly, yeah, if we watch this over a month period, it might not be a big deal, the song and all. But watching it all together, it's kind of like that song constantly is going on almost. You know, it like gets in your head. You dream about it that night.
Torture!
But, yeah, solid 7. It's not, you know, it's not like the word. I do appreciate that, hey, man, back then they took a stab at something. They said, let's go with an American Western, you know. They took a stab, man. Some like it, some don't. You know, that's just what it is. You guys have any extra tidbits on the episode at all?
There's an excellent documentary on the DVD for this story that talks about all the trouble behind the scenes during this period of the show's history. When Verity Lambert left, her last episode was Mission to the Unknown, and the guy they got to replace her, his name was John Wiles, and he never wanted to be a producer. I consider him to be like one of the worst producers of the show ever because he never wanted to be a producer. He resented being handed a 12-part Dalek story and didn't really do much with it. And this, I think, was his last story. He didn't get along with William Hartnell at all. He immediately got rid of Vicky, much to her chagrin. She wanted to leave the show, but she didn't want to be told coming back from vacation that they were done with her, pretty much. She had one story to go. The incoming producer, I think, is the one that didn't like Peter Purvis and got rid of him in the following story, and Dodo shortly after that. But, yeah, it's an interesting watch. I mean, it's about an hour, and it really fills in the blanks as to what went wrong during this period of the show, in spite of some really good stories being made. But it's worth a watch if you get to see it.
Now, the song that everybody's complaining so much about was actually sung by a woman called Linda Barron, who was quite well known on British television at the time. And yeah, the whole thing was a bit of a Mickey take of some of the classic Western films that were all strung together with a ballad that rang through the whole thing. I've been trying to remember the name of it, but there is a very famous song called The Ballad of Someone, which strung together, which went right through an entire Western film. It was sort of the English version of trying to do that, which of course obviously didn't work, but was a lot of fun in the process. The idea of dressing Peter Purvis up as a rhinestone cowboy was absolutely perfect. It couldn't have been better, because the moment he walked out of the TARDIS dressed like that, everybody laughed. And it was the talk at school, and it was the talk on amongst all the kids. Yeah, did you see what Peter Purvis was wearing on Saturday? And everybody thought it was hysterically funny. I also remember this because my father, we used to have a very old television set, and they didn't have transistors then. Everything, there were valves in the back of the television. And every now and then you had to clean it out to stop the dust from collecting in there. Otherwise the valves would overheat and blow, and you'd end up with no television.
Wow.
And I always remember at the end of the last episode of that, my father said, "Oh God, I suppose I'm going to have to get out the vacuum cleaner and clean out all the dead cowboys in the television." And it's one of those lines that stuck with me for over 50 years.
That's cool.
But yeah, the thing is, if you're going to take it seriously, you're on entirely the wrong track. As you say, William Hartnell was having an absolute ball with it. He had a real giggle and a lot of fun. And you could see that, and it came over in his performance. And the thing is, if you can, and I think an awful lot of it was his reaction to the producer putting him in that situation. So he decided, right, okay, they're not going to make this serious. They're not going to do this seriously. I'm going to make it a comedy, because he was also, apart from Doctor Who, he was also a brilliant comic actor. He'd made his name in war films, but he was absolutely superb as a comic actor. And I think it might have been his way of saying, right, okay, you don't like this, then we're going to do this. And he made it a comedy. And he, I think, as far as the comedy in that show was concerned, was the one who did all the comedy and made it really funny and made it enjoyable. He turned what could have been really boring and tedious into something that was actually quite enjoyable.
There you go. Some memories.
I agree. He is the reason to watch the episode. He is the reason to watch this. His entire performance from beginning to end. He is the reason to watch it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
The doctor, although he doesn't like guns, has his own personal collection of guns. And in this episode, decides that, yeah, it's all right to interfere with history after all. They were going to try to change the outcome of the fight at the OK Corral.
There you go. There you go.
And another interesting thing, this is just someone speaking who is like new to the classics, knowing what we know now about Time Lord DNA, how anybody would like kill to like get a piece of Time Lord DNA. We learned that, you know, on that beach there in season 7. Somewhere out there is a Time Lord tooth in the wild, wild west.
There you go.
I like the doctor introduces himself as Dr. Caligari.
Well, he has got a cabinet.
Yeah.
That's true.
Awesome, guys. Awesome. All right. Well, you know, it seems like everybody thought the episode was pretty decent. You know, we don't have too much negativity here.
If you look at it as a comedy,
yeah,
it's just that ballad. But again, you're not supposed to watch it all the way through.
Right. All right, guys. Yeah. I want to thank everybody for joining us today, this evening. Oh, I want to thank Beef Dad, looking sharp for the cast. Want to thank Neo, also looking sharp. Good buddy, our good editor, super editor, Jimmy Porto, man. He does all the wonderful editing to our show here, man, which takes some time, man, but he does it, and it's freaking awesome.
Snip, snip here, snip, snip there, little la-di-da.
All right, guys, keep on hooing, everybody.
When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.